All right, guys. So today we are doing our workshop called New Year, New Goals. We have our school counselors here, Miss Rucker and Mr. Brown. They are going to be telling us about goal setting and the emotional cup. And at the end of the meeting, if we can fill out the Google feedback form that I posted in the chat, that'd be awesome. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Miss Rucker, and I'm also going to share my screen so we can see her document. And those are also in the chat box over there. All right, to you, Miss Rucker.
Good morning, parents. As Ms. Russ has stated, I'm one of the counselors. My primary grades are pre-K through 2. And as she stated, we'll be talking today about goal setting. However, before we can start setting or accomplishing our goals, we must get our emotions in check. I dare to say to you that all of us at this time are dealing with emotions, some of us more negative than others. With that being said, we can only imagine how our kiddos might be feeling and dealing with this emotional time. I came across a wonderful article that I would like to share with you. It's called The Emotional Cup. Bear with me as I read through it with you. Imagine that every child has a cup that needs to be filled with affection, love, security, and attention. Some seem to have a full cup most of the time, or know good ways to get a refill. But most children get a little nervous when their cup gets near empty. You heard that old saying that says, some of us see our glass half empty, some of us say that our glasses are half full. Okay? Some ways that children deal with having an empty cup. They steal from other people's cups. They misbehave to get attention and show that they need a refill. They seem to have bottomless cups and need constantly topping off. They can't sit still for refills or actively refuse them. They bounce off the wall when they approach empty, think they have to fight or compete for every refill. Well, let's find some ways to resolve those issues. Because as I stated, in those ways that I just described, we certainly don't want our kids to think that's the only way to deal with our emotions. So, with that being said, let's talk about some positive ways in which we can help our kids fill their cup. Well, let's offer them some playtime. Yes, I said it, playtime. Even during a pandemic, kids still need to go outside and play and release that energy. Of course, they still need to social distance and wear their mask. Friendships. Well, how can we continue to maintain our friendships? Well, encourage them to get on Zoom, get on Microsoft Teams. They can still use the traditional way by talking on the phone. One-on-one time. Oh yes, they need that one-on-one time with you parents. Make sure that you keep that connection going. It's an opportunity to have that open communication so you can find out exactly what's going on, how Johnny or little Susie might be feeling. All right? Show them that love and affection. I suggest give them a hug and give them a little kiss on the cheek. Our children certainly love that. All right? Continue with your connections again, connecting by talking, hugging, whatever way that makes the two of you bond, keep that connection intact. Succeeding. Kids need to know that they are already achievers. Continue to say to them, Johnny, you can do it. Susan, you got this. Keep trying to do your very best, and you will succeed doing what they love to do or what they choose to do. Again, we're in a pandemic. Of course, we can't do all the things that they would like to do, but get creative. Show them movies at home. Play video games. As I stated earlier, go outside and let them play. But the bottom line is find things they like to do and allow them to do it. Again, keep in mind they must always wear a mask and continue to social distance because safety comes first. Now, what empties the cup? Keep this in mind. Stress and strain. Of course, we are all going through some type of stress and strain with this pandemic. But remember, this too shall pass. We just have to continue to persevere and we will be able to do it. We have to show our children that we can get through this by modeling, role modeling appropriate behavior. Okay? And don't continuously talk about the negative things of this pandemic. See the bright side of things. Come up ways in which you can say to them, virtual learning, that's a new mode of learning. You're learning how to be a technology wizard, like my counterpart, Mr. Brown. All right. Then also rejection by peers. Well, they might be feeling a little left out and sad because they can't connect with their friends, but that's not rejection. Let them know that in due time, they'll be reconnected again. All right, loneliness and isolation. Oh my goodness. Haven't we all dealt with that? We're still dealing with it, but we're doing the best we can. We're connecting virtually. As I said, continue to be creative. Allow them to go outside, play with their siblings, make sure that they are, you know, socializing with people that they know. And if they do come in contact with others, just make sure you continue to do the social distancing and wearing the mask. When you're yelling and punishing your children, please be mindful, parents. This is a pandemic and kids can get super emotional at this time. They don't quite always understand what is going on, but let's kind of keep the yelling and the punishment at a minimum. But talk to your children, let them know what they have done wrong before you punish them. Okay? If they are not doing as well in their grade spelling, if they're not doing as well as you would hope in their grade with their grades, that's fine. Just continue to keep encouraging them to let them know that you're there to support them. Let them know that their teachers are there to support them. Their counselors are there to support them. We're all in this together. And if they continue to try and never give up, they will indeed succeed. Okay? Fatigue. Oh, we talk about this a lot. Yes, we are tired. We're tired of this pandemic. We're just tired of all the negativity that's going on in the world. But we got to keep it positive. We got to find ways to stay optimistic, work with each other until all of this passes. Okay, and lastly, what empties the cup? When you're doing what they're for, you're asking to do something that they absolutely hate. Well, welcome to the real world. We all have to do that. But when you're dealing with kids, encourage them. Okay, we don't always like to do our chores, but we have to do them because that's just what we do. That's how life is. You have to take the good with the bad. So, with all that being said, it has been much pleasure today talking with you and coming to you, sharing this information about getting our emotions in check. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And over to my partner, Mr. Brown. Take it
Thank
away,
you, Ms.
Mr.
Rucker.
Brown.
That was fantastic. All right, now we're going to
Mhm.
Mr. Brown, and his link will also be linked below and in the chat box as well.
Yeah, thank you so much, both of you. I'm Mr. Brown. I am the school counselor over 3rd through 5th grades primarily, and we're going to talk a little bit about goal setting because it's a new year, and you always hear talk about New Year's resolutions, and it's hard to keep a New Year's resolutions. If you're like me, you've made them for several years, and you've lasted maybe 2 weeks, or maybe you're one of the good ones and you last for like 2 months, maybe. But either way, most time they tend to fail. And we're going to kind of talk about how to make these goals in a way that we will stick with them longer and will make some meaningful change. So our lesson is going to be kind of interactive because this is how I teach the students about it. And so I'll leave it open. We can do this when you click the recording and a link later. But we're going to kind of talk about New Year's resolutions. So, and these New Year's resolutions, as you can see, a lot of times like, yeah, I want that beach bod. I want to lose some weight. At least that's my goal every year. But it doesn't really work. But so we're going to move on to the next part. Like a lot of times we say, what is a New Year's resolution? And we talk about kind of, what are they? They're the goals that we make at the beginning of every year where we're saying it's a new year. What am I going to prioritize this year? And that is the most important part, is the prioritizing. And Leader in Me, which is our model of social emotional learning that we use in our school, we teach the kids what's called WIGs. They're called wildly important goals. And the reason why we say wildly important is without a goal being important to you, you're never going to work on it. If your goal was to work out, but you're like, oh, I'd rather watch TV today, then it's not high in your priorities, which means you're not going to work for it. So that's why the most important part about making your goal or your New Year's resolution is about making it wildly important, that it is almost always at the top of your list or the top 3. And so that's kind of why we're talking about New Year's resolutions. So, and the way I like to make my New Year's resolutions is instead of focusing on something that is I've fallen into the trap of saying I want to just lose weight. And when I say that, then my goal is a amount. It's a product. I'm looking for a result. I'm not looking to make a better habit. And what we've noticed what makes better goals is when you're setting a goal to be better at a habit. Now, you also, when you're better at the habit, like say, I want to lose weight. Well, my real goal is to be better at working out or to get more exercise. That's my real goal. I want getting exercise to be my habit, which has the end result of me also losing weight. And so that's kind of an easy mistake that we all fall into. I have done it most of my life until the last few years when somebody taught me how to do it better as well. And so I want you to focus on what's super important and what habit do you want to be better at doing. And that habit, when you're better at doing it, will have a positive result on your life in multiple ways. So, like, for example, a lot of our students are all virtual on a packet right now, and you may think, oh man, all they want to do is play video games or watch TV. That is true. They do enjoy that. But what I've noticed when talking to the students is a lot of them, they weren't saying this last semester, but since it's been this new year, a lot of them have been telling me, Mr. Brown, I want to get outside more. I want to spend time with my friends and family more than playing games or watching TV. I want to spend less time in front of the TV. And for me, it's like, what? This is awesome. Where is this coming from? And like Ms. Rucker was talking about, our children are starting to realize that by focusing on themselves and just doing the same thing where they're kind of isolating themselves by watching TV or playing online games, they are missing out on some of those essential things that fill their cups, like family time, like spending quality time and spending time with people that they can actually see or talk to, people they know, spending time doing multiple different activities. And so a lot of their goals when we're talking about this are to spend more time away from screens. And so that's what one of the habits is, that they say, I want to spend more time away from screens, not I want to be playing less video games. It's I want to spend more time with my family. And they say the way they want to get there is by playing less video games. And so when you're thinking about this, maybe what you want to be better at is spending more time with your kids, or maybe you want to spend some time for you, where you want to be like, I want to read a book. I haven't read a book in years or in months. Maybe I want to tackle that. Maybe I want to be better at that. Maybe I want to go on walks. And so when you think about it from what you want to be better at, you're viewing it as, I want my daily life to be better. And I want my habit to make at the end of the year for me to be better. And that's the best mindset to start these goals, because that's what's most important, is our own welfare. So we would be doing a whole exercise through this, but I want you to imagine when you're doing this is I just want you to picture yourself as you are right now. Like for me, how I am right now, what I want to focus on this year is I want to get outside more often, because I'm in a building all day, either in the school building because we don't have kids there for recess, or I'm at home working from home. And so I'm not really outside that much. And so my goal is to every day go outside. And so what I would be drawing is me, probably the me now would be me inside my office. So we would be thinking about, how am I right now? What do I want to work on? And then when you have that in mind, we're going to kind of imagine, what are you going to be like in the future? And I know you've got that cool kid going, yeah. That's because a lot of our students right now are struggling with how they feel about themselves, their identity right now, particularly during COVID. What makes them awesome? And so that's why I put this here, is because that's what I want our mindset to be, is how you are now is pretty great, but we can always, because you want to do something to make yourself go from great to awesome. All right. So then that's what I want us to imagine, is to think about, what would you be like next year if you were as awesome as you could be? And so for me, that would be going outside. I would know all of my neighborhood because I would walk it every day. I'd get an awesome tan because I've been outside more. And so I want you to imagine you of the future. How are you better? And so once you have that, we're going to talk about, what is your plan to get from the old you, the current you, to the future you. And so we also have an exercise in here where it's kind of a fun game, where it's like a little quiz where we're going to learn about how to make good goals. But I'll kind of talk to you about some of the things that make great goal setting instead of doing this time to climb. So what we really talk about is, we talk a lot about the habits, but the habit that's most about setting goals is really beginning with the end in mind. And that is what WIGs are all about, is you have your end, which is the future you, the better you that you want to be. And that is the most important thing. Nothing else is going to really compete with it for the most part. And so that's what we start with, is every time you're doing something, you're saying, where do I want to be? And then the next thing we kind of talk about is, when we make good goals, we make them specific. If we just say, I'm going to walk more. Okay, well, I got up from my desk and walked to my door. I technically walked more. That's easy to do, and it doesn't really urge you to strive to be better. But if you make a specific goal where you have details, like, I'm going to walk at least 10 minutes every day of the week, then I have something I can say, did I do this or did I not? And I can either set it for time or for distance, or like for reading, amount of time read, number of books read, number of pages read. And so if I make it measurable, something I can say, did I do it or not? Then it will help you make sure you do your goal with consistency, which will make it a habit. The next thing we kind of talk about is, doesn't matter, like we talked about. If it doesn't matter, you're not going to do it. Let's be honest. And if it's too easy to reach your goals, is the next part, then it's not a real goal. If it's like, well, I'm going to eat every day, well, you're probably going to do so. If you're not, well, then that's probably a good goal for you. And so you want to set goals that are realistic, that aren't really easy, but also aren't super hard. Like, you don't want to say, I'm going to run 5 miles a day. You're not. You also don't want to be like, I'm going to get 2,000 steps on my step tracker. Well, you probably already do that most days. So maybe you can change it to 3,000. And so you want to make things above what you're already doing, but not so far that it's not feasible anymore. And so one of the few other things we talk about that help with goals is an accountability partner. An accountability partner is somebody that checks in with you about your goals. Maybe they have the same goal as you, or maybe they're your family member that you see every day. So if mine was going on a walk, my accountability partner could say, be Miss Rucker, and we go on walks together every day, or we go on a walk separately. And then if I forget to do it, I can text her, like, you know what, Miss Rucker, I really don't want to go walk for a day. And she can be like, Mr. Brown, I went on my walk, so you need to go on yours. And chances are I'll probably go on my walk. Or maybe my wife will say, did you go on your walk today? Because she'll see me every day. And if I say no, then she can remind me that it's important to me to do it. And that will kind of help me stay on top of it myself. And so those are the tips that I have for you. But here are some tips that our students, your children, came up with, which blew me away. And honestly, I need to add them to my lesson because they're that awesome. Our students' tips were that writing a goal down is a really good idea, because it's like making a promise or a compact with yourself that I'm going to do this. When you write it down, you can also put it on a tracker so you can keep track of when you've done it. And this helps you say, oh, I missed yesterday, so I'm going to make up for it by doing yesterday and today's goal today. That's their first tip. Their second tip is that they thought that instead of making it a year goal that I'm going to walk this far by the end of the year, if you make it a weekly or a daily goal, then you think about it more often, and you have small goals that your big goal breaks into small goals, and having a deadline. So my big goal is by the end of the year, but my weekly or my monthly goal is this. And the last tip they had was to have an accountability partner or to have a friend or family member. So that's the students' tips, which are just awesome. So I want you to think about those as well. And so the last thing I want to leave you with is one of my favorite books, and it is called The Little Engine That Could. Most of you have heard about it. In the link, you can click and watch it. It's kind of a kiddie book, I'm not going to lie, but the reason why I love it is the thing that gets most people down about the goals is not just that they get lazy or distracted one day and it's not a priority, is that one of the biggest things is they tell themselves, I'm working on my goal, but I'm not seeing any progress. And they don't think they can ever reach it. And they talk about it negatively, and therefore they give up. And so what's important about the Little Engine That Could is consistently the little engine says, I think I can. I think that I can do this, so I'm going to keep trying. And eventually that positive attitude led to a positive result. Instead of saying, oh, well, I've never done it, or I don't see that I'm getting any farther, or it's taking forever, there's no point in doing this. And so that's what I want you to remember, is that in your goals, if you're not positive, you probably won't have a positive outcome. So that's what we want to focus on, is that positive mindset. And so last part is, without your plan, you're not going to reach your goal. And so with that, now you know some quick tips about how to make a good New Year's resolution to make the better you for next year. And I'm going to turn it over to Miss Russ at this point, because that's kind of the meat of what Miss Rucker and I wanted to talk about today, was that positive attitude and how we can all work on this year, because COVID has given us a lot of headaches, but also kind of a chance to kind of figure out, well, I'm stuck at home, or I'm not at work as much, I have more time at home. What can I focus on to make a good habit for the future? And so that's why we're like, oh, we want to talk to our parents about this, not just our students. So I'm going to pass it over to Miss Russ now.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. I do think we have one parent who joined. All of our links will be posted in the chat box, and I'll also post them down below for this YouTube video. There's also a Google form if you want to do a feedback. If you have any questions or anything, we would be happy to help you guys. So yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Brown and Ms. Rucker, for that valuable information. And if there's nothing else for the good of the group, I'm going to go ahead and end. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us. And I'm so, I'm sorry that if you have any questions, like Ms. Russ said, you just let us know, okay?